All right, it's another bright Wednesday morning. Good morning, karibu sana. This is the Morning Cafe right here at TV47. My name is Freddie Ndimuli. How hot is the coffee where you are? All the big headlines. Very varied this morning. They're all over the place here. I can tell you that.
Oh yes. I'm used to listening Nyerugiti. It's a wonderful Wednesday morning, one of those days we discuss matters relationships, and today is one of those kind of serious conversations when it comes to widows as well as widowers. How soon should you even be moving on? Despite the fact that the society knows that, your
after
loved
the death of a spouse.
Yes, after the death of a spouse, your spouse passed away. So how soon should you be moving on? That's a conversation today. Oh yes, and at the very tail end we get into matters cooking. Yes, but before that, State of the Nation.
Oh yes, on State of the Nation today we are hoping to have Gathoni wa Mushomba, MP, and Senator Danson Mugatana. Do stand by for that conversation. Of course, we're still continuing with examining the resource allocation debate. 1 man, 1 shilling, 1 vote, 1 man, 1 kilometer, 1 vote. What exactly does it mean, and what are the different perspectives that we have? A quick look at the headlines this morning. And probably let's start with the Daily Nation. And inside Haiti Police Mission Command.
We value your...
And that's a big headline on the front page of the Daily Nation. And they say only officers aged below 40 years will be among their 1,000 to be deployed. Nishakuwa disqualified. And they have the image there of the person who's to lead the Kenyan contingent. That's Deputy Inspector General of Police Noor Gabo. That's a big headline on the front page of the Daily Nation.
On the Standard, Mount Kenya, from Uhuru's frying pan to Ruto fire. Talk about matters bed of thorns. That's the Standard. You can take a look at the next one. Kwenye gazeti la Taifa Leo.
Kwenye Taifa Leo, mzungu ahepa mwosho wa caretaker. Aha. Hakuna siasa leo kwenye kurasa wa mbele wa Taifa Leo. Mzungu ahepa mwosho wa caretaker. Alifanya nini? Tutakuwa tukizungumzia zaidi. On the Star, inside lucrative parks, Ruto team gives Uhuru. You remember last week this paper was talking about how much Uhuru, Kalonzo and Musalia Mudavadi earn, and they're still continuing on the same tangent. That's a Star.
On to the next. People Daily, budget varsity students are now left on their own.
Wow.
Take a look at that.
That's a bit disturbing. All right, on the Business Daily, and this is interesting. Doctors hit patients with cash bills on e-Teams Rao, and they say that even those on insurance have a double blow. And we'll be telling you more about what's happening with doctors and their patients later.
And to regional matters now. Do start with Uganda. On the front page of Daily Monitor, they still talk about matters education. And they say new government plan on head teachers sparks uproar. So apparently, just to read a nutshell of that, they say the Prime Minister, that is Robina Nabanja, sparks public furor with the disclosure that a policy is in the offing to compel children of head teachers at government schools to study the same institutions in order to guarantee quality education. Remember back in the day when you had the children of head teachers, they were very, very notorious.
Okay.
Because they knew the head teacher is my father or mother, so
hakuna mahali
unanipeleka.
Still in Uganda, on the New Vision, man creates 2 ghost government firms. Interesting. Remember we were talking about ghost schools in Kenya. In Uganda, there were ghost students.
Yes.
Now they have ghost government firms. So yes, it is something that is common and unique to this region. We have a lot of ghosts moving around. That's in Uganda. Let's move on to Tanzania and take a look at the dailies there.
To Tanzania, the Citizen, government out to own commercial buildings. Also in Africa, they say the government has unveiled an ambitious project to build embassy and commercial buildings in several African countries as part of its efforts to boost revenues for the Foreign Affairs Ministry.
All right. And kwenye gazeti la Mwananchi,
fedha za faini zinavyopigwa pale.
Okay. Habari kuu pale kwenye ukurasa wa mbele wa Mwananchi, fedha za faini zinavyopigwa. Habari zingine, mwenye miaka 40 kipaumbele ajira mambo ya nje. Well, once again, tukianza kuzungumzia hapa tutapotea. Turudi nyumbani tuendelee na maswala. Let's take a look at the traffic situation in Nairobi this morning. All right, and looks very busy today. I don't know why, but this page, okay, fine. A quick look at the traffic situation on Thika Road. It is smooth all the way up to Pangani and even up until now, because it's a few minutes past 6. Nothing much to report even at Pangani. It's a bit clear this morning. Yeah, it's green as you can see. Let's cross over and take a look at Wayakiwe. And Wayakiwe, and it just disappeared like that. Okay, this one is good. Promises to be a bit problematic today. We are here. So yes, Wayakiwe is looking green also this morning. Nothing much to report all the way from Kijabe into Nairobi City. It is green. Mombasa Road 2, all the way from Kitengela Interchange up into the city is green as well. So is Langata Road and Kiambu Road as well. So let's take a look at probably Jogoo Road, which is usually problematic. And as always, yes, bits of red on that section of the road coming from Buruburu past Makadara towards City Stadium roundabout. Yes, you can see at Makadara, but that's to be expected at the what do you call this church? The St. Stephen's Jogoo Road. Yeah, a bit of a snarl up there. And also once you get closer to the City Stadium roundabout. But after that, it's smooth all the way into town. And that is more or less a traffic situation. It's a bit early. The traffic is much better, no rain, so nothing much to report in as far as traffic is concerned. But this will change, especially areas like Kiambu Road. Once you get to 6:30, kama hujapita pale DCI utakwama hapo.
Inaanza kushikana.
Ni kawaida.
Right. And speaking of the rains, let's take a look at how things are looking like. We can start with the Met Department and see what they actually promised on the same. Just to take a look at...
Amepigwa picha mingi sana.
All right. I can go back to and see how different parts of the country are expected to be like for today. You can take a look at Bungoma as well, 18 degrees Celsius. Chances of it raining for today until the midday is quite minimal. Sunny intervals are then getting into the day. Some thunderstorms around 5 p.m. there, and then chances of it, some average rainfall.
Light showers.
Some light showers around the western region.
Remember, Bungoma is the venue of this year's Madaraka Day celebrations come Saturday. So that's why we're looking at the weather to see what to expect.
What to expect on the same, yes. Taking a look at Mombasa, they say 25 degrees Celsius. Quite some 30 degrees Celsius, hiyo ni jua kali leo in parts of Mombasa and its environs, uko the coastal region. And finally, for Nairobi, 15 degrees Celsius as of now. Precipitation about 5%, chances of today raining if you're in Nairobi and its metropolitan regions. Very, very low.
Let's see.
Oh, yes. Actually, there's no rain for today. Nairobi and its metropolitan regions, probably now getting into, they say, Thursday as well as Friday, probably might be raining as well. But then that is how the weather is looking like in different parts of the country.
Okay.
Oh, yes. Could probably now take a look at the diary as well as today in history. We'll start off with the diary into matters education. First of all, onto a news diary. The Education Cabinet Secretary, that is Ezekiel Machogu, will be in Kabete as early as 7 a.m. Today, just to hold preparations for 100 years of the technical vocational education training in Kenya, which marks 100 years come the 31st of July. So he'll be in Kabete for the same. Meanwhile, National Assembly Speaker, that is Moses Wetangula, will be the chief guest in today's Kenya 61 Better Kilimo event in Kibabii University. So this event will also be graced by Agriculture CS Mithika Linturi, as well as his information counterpart, Cabinet Secretary Eliud Owalo. It's interesting because despite the fact that Agriculture CS Mithika Linturi has been invited for this event, he is going to be, we're expecting to be grilled by the DCI probably today, so wait to see how that will be. Into matters courts, for today, former Homa Bay County Assembly Clerk Bob and 2 others to appear before the Milimani Anti-Corruption Court for the hearing of a suit seeking recovery of 12.6 million cash shillings that was fraudulently paid to the second defendant as salary when she was not an employee of the Homa Bay County Assembly. That, among others, for today. Into regional matters, today is that day that South Africans head to the polls.
Okay.
Yes, to vote for the national and provincial elections, to vote to elect a new National Assembly and state legislators. So later on at the National Assembly, we'll vote in, now after 14 days thereabout, we'll vote in and choose the president who will be for the next 5 years.
All right, one more event that you've not mentioned is a Kenyan National Prayer Breakfast Women's Convocation that is being held this morning from 7 a.m. at the Safari Park Hotel. This will be led by First Lady Rachel Ruto, and also the sponsor, the Deputy President, Pastor Dorcas Rigathi, will be present for that event. Among the chief guests at the conference is Pastor Patience Museveni, first daughter of the Republic of Uganda. She will give the keynote speech that's happening this morning, something to look forward to.
All right. And still even in the National Assembly, do expect a couple of committee meetings. National Assembly Committee on Trade Industry is scheduled to have a meeting with the manufacturers of edible oils in Kenya to discuss the skyrocketing prices of the imported commodity. This is going to give you more details on this on our subsequent bulletins. Still in the National Assembly, the Budget and Appropriations Committee will hold a press conference today around noon. And the whole briefing will be on the committee's undertaking on the budget estimates for the financial year 2024-2025 and supplementary estimates, second for financial year 2023-2024. So stick around for that. Right.
All right, time for us to take a look at the dailies. All right, so let's start off with the Standard because I think I like this headline. It's quite interesting. Mount Kenya, from Uhuru's frying pan to Ruto fire. And this is they're calling it a bed of thorns. At the height of their political wars in 2022, election campaigns, then Deputy President William Ruto and allies accused then President Uhuru Kenyatta of many ills. But now, as head of state, Ruto is facing the very same accusations. This story is on page 4. And they've actually listed all the things that the retired President Uhuru Kenyatta was blamed for, including the handshake he had with the president, with the former Prime Minister Raila Odinga. Yeah. Something similar is happening with the current president. On the coffee sector, what was happening then and now? Demolitions. Remember the then deputy president saying that in his rule, these demolitions will be a thing of the past. Well, we're seeing demolitions in Gikomba. We're seeing demolitions in Mukuru-Kojenga. Yes. And as far as politics is concerned, he has trouble with his deputy, high cost of living, development, and they've chosen a very interesting pictures of the three leaders. All wearing those, what do you call them?
Some good papas.
Good papa. I think the ones that they call the fedora.
Yes, fedora.
Yes. And that's the front page of the Standard. The other story given prominence on the front page has to do with the matters of finance bill. Widened tax net Treasury told as finance bill faces resistance. The other angle to this story is a continued slashing of the budget as we anticipate the presentation of the budget estimates mid next month in the National Assembly. Another raging debate that features on the front page has to do with HIV. HIV kits tender wars rock KEMSA and the Health Ministry. Remember, we've been talking about a lack of budgetary allocation for antiretroviral drugs. Now we're seeing HIV kits. There's a scandal over the same. An MP accuses KEMSA and Health Ministry of flawed award of a multi-billion shilling tender for HIV kits. but they both come out fighting. The story has been extensively covered on the Standard, pages 2 and 3. To the top strip of the Standard, to ban or not, another very huge and raging debate. Why intoxicating Moka politics split leaders, and you know about the ban of this substance in Taita Taveta, Kilifi and Mombasa. And the president yesterday had a meeting with quite a number of these people, including phone calls to some of the governors who've declared the ban. And he has called for a consultative forum to discuss the way forward on this matter. Elsewhere, matters business, Saudi to fund LPG gas plan. And in sports, world record breaker eyes more glory. That's on page 32. So let's flip the paper. Chebet eyes more history in Paris after world record show. And an image there of Beatrice Chebet speaking to the media, JKIA, yesterday. She broke the 10,000 meters world record in Eugene. Oh, yes. And once again, congratulations to Beatrice Chebet. And that's the Standard today.
From the Standard to the Daily Nation, the big stories there matters Haiti as well as Gashago's fallout. First of all, inside Haiti Police Mission Command, and they say only officers aged below 40 years would be among the 1,000 to be deployed. So the Deputy Inspector General of Police, Nur Gabo, who has been pictured there, is being considered to head the Kenyan peacekeeping mission to Haiti. So this paper has established that, and he will be assisted by commander picked from either of the three elite units. This includes the Rapid Deployment Unit, Anti-Stock Theft Unit, as well as, or rather, the General Service Unit, who will also lead the Kenyan boots on the ground in the war-torn Caribbean nation. And at the very top scroll, Gachagua seeks new party amid falling out with Ruto. So apparently they say the DP is in the process of acquiring a new political party as his split with President William Ruto escalates. So the paper has established that Gachagua is actively engaging officials of the New Democrats TND as he scouts for an option away from President Ruto's United Democratic Alliance, UDA. This is quite interesting. Even despite the fact that when you take a look at yesterday's Gazeti La Taifa Leo, how they had him, the deputy president, as well as Nairobi Governor Sakaja, Johnson Sakaja, the whole fight on matters UDA primary polls. Now having this headline is just interesting.
Interestingly, on that issue, I know there's a meeting today. There's a Nairobi UDA delegates meeting. It's called the UDA Delegates Declaration Conference at the Bomas of Kenya. Now, this will say a lot because it may sound very innocent, but given what is happening within UDA, with such headlines that the deputy president is looking for a new party, then what he had been doing in Nairobi, trying to have his own people elected into those positions, then they're seeking a UDA Delegates Declaration Conference ahead of the upcoming UDA delegates election. So this one, something to watch out for. This is happening today at 9:30 at the Bomas of Kenya. Let me tell you, up on your motor. Utasikia tu.
Oh, yes. Some declarations are probably going to be made.
Yes.
Do you expect the president to?
No. This is for Nairobi people.
Nairobi.
They're going to come up with a unified declaration, and then come Friday, they will make the declaration known.
Okay.
Yeah.
Other highlights on the front page of the Daily Nation on the right scroll, matters courts. They say how caretaker failed in bid to take over German employer's property. And appellate judge orders eviction of man who had attempted to shortchange his employer by claiming ownership of the multi-million shilling property in Malindi. Another interesting story on just the bottom of that. They say Treasury proposes budget cuts for State House as well as presidency. And the timing of this, again, is somewhat interesting. Funds slashed from the Office of the President, Office of the Deputy President, the Prime Cabinet Secretary, and State House will instead be reallocated to coffee reforms, tree planting program, enhancement of the budget for foreign missions and state visits. Let's flip the page on the back page, and they say governors accept 400 billion cash shillings as equitable share. Has to do with matters senators. We'll be interacting with the senators this morning, so or rather one senator. So keen to note interesting to what they'll have to say on what he'll have to say on that. That is the Daily Nation for you.
All right. The Business Daily has a headline that would be of interest to so many people today. Doctors hit patients with cash bills on eTIMS row. Yes, it is matters business, but this affects patients directly. Medics are snabbing the new tax system on data privacy breaches. Now, patients with insurance cover face double jeopardy. Listen to this. Doctors are now forcing patients to pay medical bills in cash on continued snab of the Kenya Revenue Authority's electronic invoicing portal, exposing millions of insured customers to out-of-pocket spending despite 5.5 billion monthly spending on health cover. So you have a medical cover, but you go with that card to your doctor and if I use that card, I have to report through eTIMS. So we'll lipa cash. But once you pay cash, he still uses your card to go and claim from the insurance. So double jeopardy for patients with insurance cover. Wow. So medical insurers who spoke to the Business Daily said some doctors are asking patients to pay in cash and then seeking reimbursements from the insurance. That's a big headline on the front page of the Business Daily. The other headline, how Syrian Bank was forced to pay 444 million shillings in botched sale. And more headlines on the ticker. Machinery lifts imports to 679 billion in Q1. Elsewhere, Account General plans 800 million shillings mall in cost. That story about the caretaker features on the front page of the Business Daily. How a caretaker's plot to dispossess a German of his property flopped. And ABSA enlists IFC greenwashing fight. That's the front page of the Business Daily today.
From BD to People Daily, and they have about 4 highlights on the front page. Big one, the budget. Varsity students now left on their own. Say thousands of learners who sat KCSE examination last year may not join university. Not join institutions of higher learning after the government drastically slashed funding for tuition and upkeep loans. Right. And yesterday on People's Go, they were really discussing matters in higher learning and its future. On the very top scroll, staving off negative energy with a pinch of salt. Okay, matters lifestyle there. Into regional matters, Mandela party threatened as South Africa goes to polls, giving you highlights on the same. But a very interesting story on the bottom scroll. When a country goes mad, why are you recording assault? Yeah. And they have that on page 3, where they say, according to psychologists, sadistic and masochistic behavior could be blamed on psychological problems, while some are innate just for pleasure. They also say some experts say the dark personality traits are said to mostly originate from childhood trauma, while other people acquire them after being brought up by abusive parents.
Or seeing someone drowning and they're just recording.
Yeah.
And saying, huyu tulimwambia.
Mtu anaenda live on TikTok.
Tumekuambia, and they're just recording. Yes. So what exactly is happening? Why are we losing our empathy as human beings?
Well, that is the front page of People Daily. We'll be getting back to People Daily, taking a look at Stanu's take on the caricature on page 10. But
tuangazie gazeti la Taifa Leo na habari hiyo ya yule caretaker jaribu kumfurusha bosi wake. Imepewa kipaumbele pale, ndio habari kuu kwenye ukurasa wa mbele wa Taifa Leo. Anasema koti yapiga breki jaribio la msimamizi wa nyumba kunyakua makazi ya raia wa Ujerumani aliyemdai kuwa marufuku Kenya. Huyu jamaa aliyehadaiwa, huyo raia wa Ujerumani, anasema niliporejea Kenya mnamo mwaka wa 2015 niligundua kuwa Bwana Hamid alikuwa amekodisha mali hiyo kwa watu wengine. Mtunzaji nyumba aliyejaribu kumnyang'anya bosi wake umiliki wa nyumba yake amepata pigo baada ya mahakama kukataa kuzuia kufurushwa kwake kutoka kwa nyumba hiyo mjini Malindi. Habari kamili kwenye ukurasa wa mbele. Watu wana unyama kweli. Kuna picha pale wanasema rundo la taka. Wakazi wa mtaa wa Pipeline Nairobi wagubikwa na rundo la taka. Wanalalama kaunti inawatelekeza na kuwaweka katika hatari ya kuugua. Picha yenyewe ya kutatanisha pale.
Yes.
Taka kila mahali.
Have you been on that path, on that alley?
I don't think I have, but it doesn't look nice at all.
I was there during an interview with Hanifa Farsafi for Morning Cafe back in the last year. It was just amazing and just incredible.
Was the situation the same? Like
it was the same, and it was even worse. During the interview, someone threw Pampers just above there, ikaanguka hapo katikati. Yeah, it was just a whole menace.
Governor Sakaja anafaa pelekewe gazeti la Taifa Leo aone hiyo picha kwenye ukurasa wa mbele. Doesn't look nice at all. Habari zaidi kwenye ukurasa wa mbele, DCI kuhoji Linturi na katibu wake. DCI imesema wawili hawa wanahojiwa kuhusu sakata ambapo mbolea ya milioni 209 ilipotea. Trump kujua hatma yake kotini leo. Jaji wa mahakama kuu ya New York atatoa maelekezo kwa jopo la majaji leo. Pale juu kwenye ukurasa wa mbele wa Taifa Leo, vidokezo zaidi. Afueni kwa wakulima, serikali ikitambua Moka, na ni habari ambayo itaendelea kuzungumziwa, masuala ya Moka kule Kilifi, Taita Taveta na Mombasa. Rais atangaza mmea huo umetambuliwa kisheria, mahakama yasimamisha utekelezaji wa marufuku. Na hatimaye Chelsea FC akaribia kusajili Enzo, kocha wa Leicester atachukua pahali pa Pochettino. Gazeti la Taifa Leo. Tuko na The Star.
We do have The Star. Taking a look at the front page of The Star. It's a lucrative pact Ruto team gives. Who do they talk about? Rebuttal. Kanze rubbishes claims, says state out to financially cripple Kenyatta office. So documents show that the ex-president has 8 high-end government of Kenya cars, 33 employees on state pay. Pages 4 and 5. Other highlights focused on the front page of The Star. On the bottom, senators want 1.8 billion cash shillings stalled. County headquarters cash handed to devolved units. Away from that into the finance bill, experts poke holes in finance bill, say it will punish many households. And still on the bottom there, punish convicts in the former Juja MP Thuo's murder. Widow Jody urges court. The whole matters varsity funding is also, The Star makes a mention of it on the top scroll. Varsity funding in crisis as Treasury cuts help budget for new students. That is on page 6. Students are about to suffer now. Ukiona help yako imekatwa, and you had whole plans of that. That is the front page of The Star. Into the cartoons now.
And I think the most interesting cartoon today is on page 17 of the Daily Nation. Talks about this debate about Moka and its legality or otherwise. And we have a caricature of the president, the Mombasa governor, the minister for agriculture, and someone who's driving a truck delivering Moka. And the Mombasa governor is busy waving the truck away, but the president is saying, "Well, kuja to keep coming," directing this transporter on where to take the Moka, and that's within the coastal counties. That debate continues today. It is one of the biggest conversations, whether or not Moka should be allowed for consumption.
Harry is back.
On page 12 of the Standard, yes, Harry is back. And today it's a bit clearer, the cartoon on page 12 of the Standard, and we have a caricature of the president, and they are portraying his deputy as, you know what they call this, puppet. Marionette. It's a marionette, and then a puppet on the other side. So that's the Kapseret MP on one side speaking against the deputy president, and the deputy president wondering why? And then the president says, "Don't look at me, I'm oblivious of the situation," yet he's the one in control.
He's a puppet master of both.
Yes, he's a master.
Good thing with Harry, he
seems to suggest that everything that's happening there is the president knows exactly what is happening, and is actually the one carrying out the machinations.
And good thing with Harry, he always labels his characters, so it's always easier to even know.
Yes, his depiction of all these leaders, I think we're yet to get used to it. So yes, it's good that he does that for us, at least for now.
Yeah, at least for now. On page 10 of People Daily, Stano's take matters UDA party polls. Powerful forces, a huge boulder on running over to the edge of a cliff and about to knock the UDA party polls. And the commentator is asking, is the ruling party practicing democracy or democracy? I love that.
Democracy. I told you there's that UDA declaration conference today at Bomas of Kenya. That
Stano has depicted it quite well.
That will inform a lot about what's happening within that party as they continue with their grassroots elections, which are not over. They will continue for a number of months. They were to go on for at least 4 months, before they do the national elections. But with the kind of headlines you're seeing and what's happening between the president and his deputy, we just wait to see what exactly will happen. And the big question, will ANC and Ford Kenya dissolve to join the UDA party? All right, State of the Nation coming up after the break. Senator Danson Mungatana and Gathoni wa Mushomba, member of the National Assembly, are expected to be joining us in studio for this conversation. So we'll be looking at some of the headlines as we've just gone through. And you can be part of that conversation through social media on X at TV47 News and on Facebook, TV47 Kenya.
Right, at 22047 is our SMS number. At around 8 a.m. we get into a Relationships Wednesday, where we discuss moving on after the death of a spouse. How soon should a widow or a widower move on and just look for someone else? Well, you say, till death do us part. Well, the death has happened, so what happens now after that? We'll be having Dr. Bertha Gaither. She's the National Chair of Muungano wa Wajane, as well as Richard Ziwa Zimbalist. He is a councillor, and Susan Gashungei. She is a widow. To help us have this conversation back at home, you can always chime in into this conversation and talk to us. 0793-267-279 is our WhatsApp number. 0795-045-864 is the number to call us live and chime in into this conversation. To the whole tail end of the show, we get into matters giving you tips on how to better your culinary skills. Ile masa ya kupika. Yes.
Okay. Looking forward for that. Let's take a break now. You're watching Morning Cafe.
Kila kiongozi ana hadithi yake ya kipekee.
Wazazi wangu walikuwa bit strict kwa sababu mamangu mwenyewe, mimi kutoka kuzaliwa sijailala nje.
The white small one, huyo ana sniff gunpowder na risasi na bomb. Alafu huyo mwingine ni Ridgeback ana sniff Simba.
Even the employees knows that, so when in the boardroom is the chairman, the CEO, and the rest of.
At what point are you a wife?
The minute you get to that inside that door, you become now the wife.
Na kila maamuzi wanayoyafanya hufichua mengi kuhusu utu wao na uongozi wao.
We see God blessing us, and we now realize the power of giving also has to be rewarded back.
Kupitia kipindi Mfahamu Kiongozi, tunakuletea mahojiano ya kusisimua na uchambuzi wa kina kuhusu viongozi wetu.
Pick your core business as the bigger stones. Put them in your diary first. Give priority the bigger things.
Usikose kila Alhamis saa 1:30 jioni.
In a world where challenges are as common as opportunities, there are those who dare to defy the odds. They are the entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurship isn't just about starting a business, it's about embracing uncertainty, pushing boundaries, and turning dreams into reality.
Hata ambao ni pesa ya kusave, wallahi. Mbao mwaka ni pesa nyingi sana.
As long as you're earning something, there's always that opportunity to save. And you start with where you are.
The way we run the business is in a very unforgiving way, where every team member has to bring out their best.
So, to all the dreamers, innovators, and risk takers out there, remember, being an entrepreneur isn't just a job, it's a way of life. Join the journey. Become an entrepreneur. The Grind, Mondays at 7:30 p.m.
Here on Beyond the Limit, we celebrate the extraordinary achievements of individuals who redefine possibilities. In a journey of resilience and determination, these individuals demonstrate that limitations are merely stepping stones to greatness.
I'm Nancy Njoroge, a mother of 3. I have 2 girls and a boy who is Clinton and who is autistic.
When my heart got healed, I decided to come out to be creating CP awareness, to let other people know that there is such a condition, and people that has it is not that they are witches.
Together, let's go beyond the limit every Saturday at 8 p.m.
Welcome to The Realtor, where we take you on an exciting journey from bare land to dream home. Step 1. Finding the perfect plot. We explore location, size, and potential. Next, construction begins. Witness the foundation being laid, walls rising, and rooms taking shape. Step 3. Electricity matters. We delve into wiring, switches, and smart home tech. Step 4. From paint choices to fixtures, it's all about aesthetics. Step 5. It's time to get the right furniture. Finally!
Welcome back. You're watching Morning Cafe on TV 47. Let's take a look at some news updates. Now, it is a temporary reprieve for Moka farmers and traders who can now transport, distribute and sell the stimulant in Mombasa and other coastal counties following a court order that revoked the county's executive orders banning the same. This follows a push and pull that caught the attention of the president, who is now scheduled to meet leaders of 4 counties, including Mombasa, Embu, Kilifi and Taita Taveta next week to discuss concerns and the way forward.
Moka farmers and traders have been stranded for close to a week now since executive orders were issued by some counties on Thursday last week, but following the orders from the High Court sitting in Embu, it is back to business, pending the hearing and determination of the case. The court's presiding judge, Lucy Njuguna, ordered the stoppage on the enforcement and implementation of Executive Order Number 1 by the Governor of Mombasa, Abdul Swamad Sharif Nasir, pending the hearing of a motion filed by Moka Farmers and Traders Association in a case that will be heard on July 8 this year.
Nataka kuuliza governor akubali tuketi tukubaliane na sisi tuko na hakika hata hii Moka itakuwa ni ya manufaa kwa watu.
In her ruling, Judge Njuguna said the court had perused the annexed documents, the relevant articles of the Constitution, and the statutory provisions and was satisfied with what the applicant relied on in support of the substantive petition and the application. The court was satisfied that the applicants deserved to be granted conservatory orders while certifying the application urgent. Njuguna also ordered that the application be served upon the respondents within 7 days from today, the 28th of the year 2024. Meanwhile, the president, who met all Embu elected and nominated leaders at State House, Nairobi, is scheduled to meet leaders from 4 counties of Embu, Mombasa, Kilifi and Taita Taveta next week to discuss concerns and the way forward. Religious leaders have also joined the discussion, with some calling for the total ban of the stimulant.
Tunasema hatutaki Moka. Sasa hii kama makamu wa rais, naibu wa rais amepiga vita pombe zinazoharibu watoto huko bara na kufanya madhara na hamkufanya maandamano. Sasa huku kwetu Kilifi.
But Kwale County Governor Fatuma Achani has taken a different route, saying that the county leadership has agreed to put up regulations on the use of Moka in the county.
Of course, hatutoweka ban kwa utumizi wa Moka kwa sababu ya kisheria, lakini pia tunafuatilia zile njia za kisheria ili kuhakikisha utumizi wa Moka unakuwa regulated.
A section of farmers in parts of Kilifi, Kwale and Taita Taveta counties have also embraced Moka farming, which is majorly grown in Embu, Kirinyaga and Tharaka Nithi counties. 19 out of the country's 47 counties grow the stimulant. Roga Ival, TV 47.
The Kenya Association of Manufacturers, alongside other financial institutions, have opposed some provisions of the Finance Bill 2024, insisting that they will make the country's already bad economic situation worse. Now, appearing before the National Assembly's Finance and National Planning Committee, the stakeholders said the Finance Bill 2023 had led to difficult economic times that caused a shutdown of various businesses, saying the 2024 bill makes things worse. Mike Kagongo reports.
I'm CPA and Julius Ruto.
Members of the Finance Committee in the National Assembly have started public participation meetings in Nairobi, aimed at collecting views from Kenyans concerning the Finance Bill of 2024. Among the proposals in the bill is the 16% VAT on bread and wheat products and the 2.5% motor vehicle tax. The Kenya Association of Manufacturers opposed the proposals, stating that they will make life more difficult for the already economically hard-pressed Kenyans.
But what they don't realize is that Wanjiku will pay every cent of what the government has lumped as tax. What we worry about is depressing demand, but Wanjiku will have to bear the cost.
If the bill becomes law, motor vehicle owners will pay a tax of between 5,000 and 100,000 yearly. They argue that the motor vehicle industry is already taxed through other forms of taxes, including vehicle import taxes, which are almost 50% of the value of the vehicle.
So we believe this is misinformed, it's uncalled for, it's unwarranted.
Likely to feel the pain of Kenyans at households at farm level. So no, we take this very, very seriously, and please do not take it that we are being flippant. No.
CAM leadership is also against the eco tax, which they say will lead to a sharp increase in batteries and other electronic equipment. The proposal to tax imported cooking oil also caused a heated debate during the forum.
The escalation will be on plastic sector, 55% increase, pharmaceutical 38%, bread 2%, cooking oil 6%, just on this economy alone. Diapers 30%.
Fertilizer Association of Kenya highlighted that the gradual increase in excess duty rather than an immediate jump to 20% could help mitigate the impact on consumers and allow them to adjust to the higher cost over time.
And also we are looking at the transfer of businesses as a going concern. Being VAT exempt is a very welcome move that will help businesses to be able to transact freely.
After getting views from Kenyans, the Molo MP Kimani Kuria-led committee will retreat to prepare a report that will be tabled in the National Assembly.
I think you have to think around how that difference in the number of years will be accounted for.
Well, we must also help the commissioner to tame the bad taxpayers.
The bill will go through the third reading before MPs take a vote. Mike Kagwango, TV 47, Nairobi.
This is a crisis of monumental proportions.
Now, it is a win for devolution after the National Assembly and the Senate Mediation Committee agreed to allocate counties 400.1 billion shillings in the 2024-2025 financial year. The deal, said to have been reached on Monday evening, means the country's 47 devolved units will get an extra 15 billion shillings compared to 385 billion in the 2023-2024 financial year. Apollo Kamau with the details.
The bicameral parliament scored a first on the Division of Revenue Bill 2024, which has traditionally split the two houses in the allocation of funds to the 47 counties. This is after a joint mediation team of the two houses settled on 400.1 billion shillings to be allocated to the counties for the financial year 2024-2025, starting next month.
Out of the shareable revenue, the equitable share that will be going into our counties is now captured in the report, and it is 400.1 billion shillings.
This means the devolved units will benefit with an extra increment of 15 billion shillings compared with the current allocation of 385 billion shillings for the fiscal year 2023-2024. In the contentious Division of Revenue Bill, before it was committed for mediation, the Senate had proposed for 15 billion shillings, while the National Assembly capped the shared revenue at 391 billion shillings.
consultations have been happening even with the president. And after those consultations, and with the support that we have always projected towards devolution as the National Assembly, as the Senate, as the government, we were able to reach a considerable figure which clearly shows how supportive we are to devolution.
The deal struck on Monday was, however, not a walk in the park for the two sides, with sources saying it was marred by walkouts to pave way for consultation. Eventually, both sides ate the humble pie, the Senate climbing down from their initial proposal, while the National Assembly reviewed its proposed allocation upwards. Apple Kamau, TV47.
All right, welcome back. You're still watching Morning Cafe on TV47 with me, Fred Ndimuli. Time for us to take a look at the headlines this morning. And with us in studio is Senator Danson Mungatana of Tana River. Karibu sana. It's good to have you in studio.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. Very big discussions happening. Of course, on the front page of the Standard, it looks very interesting. I can see you've been looking at it, and you'll be looking at that kind of politics. Other headlines, of course, on the front page of the Daily Nation, something that we'll also be discussing, Gachagua seeking new party amid falling out with Ruto. And yes, it makes for a very interesting discussion, especially on UDA politics. But before we get to that, there's a raging debate, and I think that has attracted national interest. And this is on the ban on Moka in some counties of the coast, yes. Taita Taveta, Kilifi, and Mombasa. And now this is a very hot debate because, yes, it has attracted even the president's attention, and the question has been on the legality of the sale, distribution, and use of the substance, which is already provided for in an act of parliament. One may wonder, is it a lack of understanding of our laws when governors and county bosses come out and declare a ban on something that is already provided for in the law?
Fred, if you ever have a chance of visiting some of these places where the young people are abusing substance, you will be shocked at how terrible the situation is. And unfortunately, it's not isolated in Mombasa alone. If you go to Kwale County, if you go to Taita Taveta County, if you go to Kilifi County, down Tana River, all the way to Lamu, if you go to some of these places where young people are abusing drugs, young people are, losing their lives, you will want to do something. Now, the issue here is that when the deputy president was fighting the alcoholic drugs abuse, there was a lot of force. There was all stops were pulled out to fight this. But then when it comes to this issue, which we have also raised, it is not being given the kind of attention that is required. So the governors have done what they have done is in response to the reality on the ground. What they have done is to take action so that they can do something about it. You see, the approach for alcoholic drinks, they were pouring them. They were arresting people who are coming with them from other areas into. So the governors have decided to do the same thing. They are saying that we will stop this Muguka coming to our places. We will use our Kanjo askaris to arrest the sellers of these chemicals, and we will be tough with these people. And they are not doing anything different from what the the action was being done when they are fighting those people who are abusing alcohol.
But the question is, it's in the manner of carrying out these actions that you talk about.
Yes.
Because for anything that's provided for in law,
yes,
and you are a legislator from the coastal
Yes,
area,
yes.
it would be upon you as a legislator, as someone who has that privilege to sit in the Houses of Parliament,
Yes.
to seek legislation, to probably change or to ban or to ensure that substances like Moka are not available for distribution and sale. It is already provided for in the Crops Act of 2013. Isn't that the best approach, to change legislation and amend some of this?
You know, first of all, the governors did not sit with us, okay? So when the governor of Kilifi was announcing his ban, he didn't sit with the legislators. Same with the governor of Mombasa. But I know they had their own legal team that advised them. And they took the action that has support for most of us. Most of us feel that the same force of fighting alcohol abuse in other regions of Kenya should have been applied in fighting the abuse of this substance called Moka in the coast. And I think what the governors have done, the matter is in court for now all sides to make their submissions, but what they have done is to take action because they have seen the problem. The problem is huge. It is really big, and it's not just limited to Moka. If you go to those dens where the young people have become zombies, heroin is also abused there. So there's a problem in some part of the coast.
The only difference is that heroin is actually a banned substance and under the Narcotics Act, and the Moka is actually provided for. It's a question of the laws that are in place.
You know now, let me just explain this. Heroin is much more expensive to get than Moka is fairly cheap, and unfortunately even very young people are able to access it. Unlike heroin is much more difficult. So from where I sit, I think what the governors have done is to send a message, a very strong message that we need to get this thing out of our young people. And it's some of the things we do are not necessarily all provided in the law. They may not be even, directly legal, but they have a certain moral standard that is telling you if the law is not in keeping with this, then it is the law that is wrong. Remember,
then it is the law that should be changed.
No, it is, you see, remember this story, Jesus Christ said this, He went to save a donkey that had fallen, but it was on a Sabbath. So the Pharisees were asking, why are you doing something that is against the law? And Jesus Christ actually gave us the way forward. He said, should I wait for this donkey until it dies, Was the law meant for man or man meant for the law?
Okay.
So I think sometimes you find a certain moral standard that says that the law is behind, and we ought to change the law if the law is not going with this.
Allow me to welcome Honorable Gathoni Wamushomba into this conversation. Karibu sana, it's good to have you.
Thank you, my brother.
At TV47. Honorable Gathoni Wamushomba is the MP Githunguri constituency. Karibu sana. You found us right in the middle of this debate discussing this push and pull about Moka and whether or not it should be banned. A couple of governors from the coast have done so, but their declaration goes against the provisions of the law because Moka is provided for under the Crops Act of 2013, meaning that there are farmers who engage in this business with the backing of the law. And now, if at all the issue, and you are a legislator, if at all the issue is that this is a substance that has harmful effects to society, then probably that is a conversation we should be having, and probably towards a change of the laws. But we are not having that discussion. Do you think that could be the disconnect? That this should be a matter for legislators to discuss now?
First of all, thank you for having me here, and my apologies, I got a little bit late, and I'm happy to see my brother after a long time of an engagement.
Karibu sana.
I am not so sure whether we should be discussing this issue now, because of course, you know, there are some court matters that are arisen over the issue of when to ban, how to ban, and where to ban. So I'm not so sure whether we should be dissecting this matter.
We're not, the matter is not before the court. The substantive matter is not what we're discussing. The issue is generally, it is provided for in the law. Shouldn't it be an issue of whether we should change the law, if at all it is? Because in some countries, some of these substances are illegal.
I would request that we do not dwell much on that, because I've just been told that what we should be discussing here is something that actually is under the court's lens. So I would request that
I'll grant you that,
but don't look like we are.
It is a matter of contravening. Even the president made a pronouncement of the same yesterday, despite the court order, because it's just an injunction on the order to ban. The issue is not about the ban. The issue is, should we be having a conversation as a nation on whether or not?
Sure. In terms of whether Moka is a legal product or not, I think that's something that lawmakers should take up. And I saw a kind of a tag of discussion whether the Crop Act 2013 recognizes Mera or Moka.
It does recognize both.
So, and I think it's not very clear, because according to the law, Mera is legal, Moka seems to be the bone of contention. Because there are people who don't make the differentiation between Moka and Mera in terms of their appearance, in terms of even chemical composition and many other aspects of it. But I think whenever such an issue arises, I think it's the onus is on the members of parliament to go back to, to the lawmaking houses and give a clear legal direction in terms of the legality and the procedures of availability and accessibility. But like my brother has said, and I've had many members of parliament from the coastal region complain, this is not an issue that we can easily brush off. A matter that is, or an issue that is affecting our young generation, the future of this country. I think it is high time that we brought the debate on the table and ask ourselves, what are the gains of having this product accessible to the young people, and what are the losses? And from where I come from, I have been one of the biggest campaigner against drug abuse. I have dwelled quite much on that, even when I was not a lawmaker. Actually, one of the things that catapulted me to, brought me up to where I am now in terms of politics, it is my engagement with issues of substance abuse. And I feel the coastal region population, I feel their pressure, I feel their pain, and we just can't sit and watch and look at the economic value of a crop versus the social impact of that crop or that product. So we need to sit down and evaluate and get to know, for us to avoid the hazardous effect and impact this product is having, what is it that we need to do as lawmakers so that we can help the producers add value or remove value that is going to have less impact, negative impact to the consumers. Because it doesn't make sense for us to make an economic gain of a product, yet it is having a negative and hazardous impact on the consumers.
Is there a gap in legislation?
Oh yes, there is a big gap.
Yes.
I had the coastal members of parliament ask this question, and this is a question I should also ask. Why is it that Moka consumed in, for example, in Central, doesn't seem to have that much hazardous effect, yet when it is consumed in the coastal region, has that very massive impact, negative impact? What is the gap there? What is it that these people are using that is catalyzing the impact that is not happening in the other parts of the country? So those are some of the things that we need to go back. And these are not issues to come and debate here on TV 47 and make a conclusion. People need to get into research.
Yes.
Serious research need to be put in so that we can know what is it that we need to do so that we can advise properly. I believe any product, including this coffee that you've served me with today, if not properly used in the right quantities, the right quality, can also be hazardous. Okay. So some research needs to be put. The government needs to invest a little bit of research, a little bit of resources also, so that we can know whether we are doing the right thing. For example, this mirror, this mirror in Moka, when it gets to the consumption point, how hygienic is this product to the users? How is it handled, for example? I see it, it passes through my place, through my area, and I see the way they pack it. I'm not saying they pack it wrongly, but how safe is this product, which I am now going to take without cleaning and chew and swallow. Okay. So those are some of the things that we need to ask ourselves, whether we have done it right and whether there is now room for us to do it better. But I believe there is no justification for you to trade in a crop for your economic gain when the consumer is impacted negatively and hazardously.
Of course, a lot of comparison has been made with the fight against alcohol abuse, especially in the Mount Kenya region. And yes, the negative effects on alcohol abuse and even the consumption of Moka in some areas has been seen and is evident and need to be addressed. But the question therefore is a problem in the enforcement of our laws, because some of these are businesses that contribute to the national, to the GDP, that contribute to tax revenue for the government, including manufacture of alcohol and now even the sale of Moka.
Fred, when it comes to drugs, if you are rich because you are feeding people poison, I think you are a very caste rich man or rich woman. And I have had my pastor talk last week, and this statement came out shining. He said, if your children are being fed by money from corruption, they are eating curses from your generation to the next generation and to the... If your kids, you and your wife, you stole money, and it is the money that you are using to put food on the table for your children, those children are eating curses. That road that should have been built wasn't built because you stole that money, you and your wife, and you're feeding your children. That is cursed money. So if you and your wife, you're feeding your children from killing other people's children, literally, by feeding them poison through mugoka, through alcohol that is tainted, my friend, you are also feeding your children curses. So even on the moral, religious point, it is wrong to make money out of people. You are no different from the robber. You are no different from the guys who chapa people ngeta on the roadside, because you're actually extinguishing life for you to eat. Okay. I think on the moral score, you cannot bring the argument of paying revenues to the government and so these people. No. Okay. I think that has been a settled thing a long time ago. That's why standards have been developed even for those who are giving us medicine itself. Medicine can also be poisonous. So even medicine, manufacture of pharmaceuticals, there are standards. If for medicine there are standards, even then for entertaining things, there got to be standards. Okay. So for me, that argument of we're going to get money, and it's a very weak argument. I think life should be preserved first. And on this score, I think from where I sit, the president ought to have called both sides, okay? And if in his wisdom he thought it is good to listen to one side first, then the same wisdom should be applied for him to listen on the other side.
Indeed, he has called for a consultative forum of all the leaders.
But it should have happened immediately. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because now the whole thing is looking very bad. On him as my friend and my leader, it's not looking good. And whoever advised that you should have a meeting this week with these people and then next week, but one is when you have a meeting with the others, he's not doing justice.
Well, he's basing his argument on the law.
It doesn't matter what the law says. There are many issues that are beyond the law spectra. They're actually moral and religious spectra. So you should have had this meeting this week and the same week to have this other side, then you have a joint meeting. Okay. Or to just have a joint meeting at the beginning. So for me, there's been some problem there, and it needs to be fixed, because this is not a small matter. It's not a small matter, by the way.
We cannot afford to ignore it.
It's not a small matter, and some people are saying, oh, the Muguka traders will be given police escort. Can you really? I don't think people know what they're talking about. Right. If the people arise, then the police are not enough. Okay. So that approach is wrong. It is a debate that will definitely should be engaged on all sides, I think, so that we can have a working arrangement.
It definitely is captured on the front page of the Standard. To ban or not, why intoxicating Muguka politics split leaders. The president has already called for a consultative meeting with all the leaders from all the counties involved, and not just those from the coast, also from Embu, where most of the farmers who trade in this Muguka substance are based. We'll continue following that discussion. Now, I want to invite you to take a look at some politics now.
Before you go to politics, you know, in the spirit of the Kenyan Constitution, the people of Kenya are sovereign. And it is the duty of the president and any other implementer of this constitution to safeguard the sovereignty of the Kenyan people. And so if the people are sovereign, then it is the duty of the president to make sure, irrespective of other key players of the economy, the rights of the people, the right to health, the right to social protection and any other law is protected. So whether Muguka or coffee or tea or avocado is the number one key earner to this economy, if it is hazardously or negatively impacting the people who are sovereign according to this constitution, then it is a duty of lawmakers, the president, the executive, to relook at the laws.
And it's good that you've quoted the lawmakers. That's why I was posing the question to you.
Yes, and to relook at the law and craft the law to suit the people. By the way, laws are made to be followed. Laws are not fixed. They are made to be followed. Rules and regulations are made to be followed, but they are never fixed. So if, for example, along the way we realize this coffee is actually negatively affecting us, we cannot sit and say because it is our cash crop, we will continue farming it, mpende musipende. No. Okay. So if the coastal population is complaining about this product, irrespective of the economic value this product is gaining, bringing into our region, for example, because I'm from Central, that does not mean that we sit and use the police force to what should I say, forcibly push the product to a region. You know, yesterday when I heard the president says that the Moka can continue and the coastal population is rebelling, I asked myself, so if Moka goes to coast region and the coast region population decides we are not going to use it, is the president going to push it down their throats? No. Okay. So this calls for a national dialogue. Don't call one side. Call everybody in the room. Debate, argue out, put your concerns, and let all agree that this is right and this is wrong. And I had one lawmaker say, oh, this is stressing some of the regions where Moka is produced economically. And I'm from Central, and I said, you know, look here, guys. Once we used to have tobacco everywhere, grown in the eastern part of Kenya. I mean, including Embu, including Meru. But some researchers just told us that tobacco, which we were growing, was hazardous to us. What happened? We replaced the tobacco with other new crops, emerging crops. That's how avocado came in. That's how macadamia came in. So that is why I said we need to invest in research and get to know, now that this Moka may be having some hazardous impact on the consumers, what can these other farmers do so that we can replace that economic gap instead of us pushing, through the value chain, and we are impacting on other people's negatively. Okay. Yeah, I hope I'm making sense on that.
Yes, very well said, and it is a debate that will continue. Of course, the president has called for that meeting, and whatever comes out of that, we will be here to bring it to you. Let's now move quickly to politics because, yes, it is also a big discussion point and it's actually featured on the very top strip of the Daily Nation. They talk about Gachagua seeking a new party amid falling out with Ruto. And you're both members of the UDA party. So the Deputy President, Rigathi Gachagua, is in the process of acquiring a new political party as his split with President William Ruto escalates. And this particular daily has established that Gachagua is actively engaging officials of the New Democrats, TND, as he scouts for an option away from President Ruto's United Democratic Alliance. This coming at a time when UDA is engaging in grassroots elections. Actively, I'm aware that this morning there's a meeting at the Bomas of Kenya, at least for the team from Nairobi, to make a UDA declaration. It is a UDA declaration conference ahead of another UDA delegates meeting coming Friday. This disturbs the matrix within the party completely when the president, the deputy president is at loggerheads with his boss and the party structure. We've seen the kind of influence he has tried to exert in Nairobi. Now that these things are falling apart, this will definitely affect the UDA party. What is your assessment of this situation? For the UDA party, not even for the deputy president.
Okay. From where I sit, personally, I think we shouldn't make big issues out of people making political choices, okay? I think Kenya is one of those countries, and I'm speaking here as the head of the delegation for Pan-African Parliament, the head of Kenya delegation, and we are highly regarded as a nation because of our vibrancy in politics and the fact that, you know, unlike in some of our neighboring states where they have had the same party from independence up to now still being the ruling party. In Kenya, it's been a very vibrant political space in this part of the world, and people always give it to us that they are quite happy to come and be Kenyans if that was something that they had in their minds. Why? Because here you can do whatever you want, really, and nobody will really follow you. So from where I sit as a member of UDA, if I'm dissatisfied with what is happening in the party, walking out is always an option. And especially if you know, I came in as a person, I didn't come in as a coalition. You know, I didn't fold a political party to walk into UDA, okay? I came in as Danson Mungatana. During the campaigns, the president sat with me and we talked, and they said, you see, you need to support us, and we've done this before, let's do it again. And I said, fine, let's work together. But that would work very well with any other member of the UDA. But when it comes to the deputy president, I'm telling you, and the president is stuck with this deputy until the end. I'm telling you this, Fred, that you came in as a person. I didn't fold a political party. That now, if say I'm walking out, I'll have to call all my friends and tell them X, Y, Z, X, Y, B, A, B, C, D, you know? We came in here, it's a raw deal. We used to be maybe in ANC or in Ford Kenya. Let's go back to our political party, you know? So for me, like everybody else during the campaigns, the deputy president came in, he made his decision to work with William Ruto. If he says he wants to make a decision to walk out of William Ruto, it's a free country. From where I sit, it's a free country. Okay. And let me tell you something. You know, everyone has his political plan in terms of progress. If I'm seeing that UDA has stuck me, you know, I can't go beyond here. For example, maybe I intend to run in 2027, and the strongest person who is in UDA is a sitting incumbent president. So for me, I would just say, no, I need to run, whether to win or to lose, it doesn't matter. Okay. Then I will go for another political party. So from where I sit, I don't think... It's not a big deal. For me, from where I sit, because President Ruto didn't get Mount Kenya because of Gachagua. Yet the presidency... He just went to look for the vote. Senator, I hear you. So what I think we should be asking ourselves is, what is the impact of somebody walking out? What is the impact of the deputy president being at
divergence with his boss. We've seen this before, it's not the first time. The current president and his former boss, President Uhuru Kenyatta, Honorable Mushomba, we saw the kind of impacts, that kind of push and pull between the two, the top two, and what kind of impact it had on the nation. And Kenyans should be concerned when they see that happening again, don't you think?
First of all, Fred, when I was coming here, I looked forward to debating or to contributing to debates that surrounds, that touches on the impact of the economic pressure of Kenyans.
And we'll get to that, definitely.
So I was looking forward to spend a little more time on that, because that is really what the person who voted us in
Honorable Mushomba,
really
politics does matter
allow
a lot.
me to execute, please. Therefore, I wouldn't want to spend a lot of time to discuss other people's affairs, because of course I'm not the spokesperson of the Deputy President. I am not the spokesperson of the UDA party. And like my colleague has said, my colleague has said, I mean, we have all the freedom to choose in terms of which political party to affiliate with, to work with, and that framework is available. I have always, since I was elected in 2022, kept off political parties' affairs discussions. Reason being, matters of political parties are more for the political class. Matters of politics of the political parties are for the political class. When we spend a lot of time discussing matters to do with ourselves, the people who elect us feel cheated. Because we should dwell more, for example, when we are discussing Moka issues, that's something that really concerns the people who are watching us. But political parties are a few class, myself and Mweshimo, and a few others. So for me, allow me to concentrate on matters that really, I feel, directly impact the people of Kenya.
Okay.
And that is matters economy, matters finance bill, matters agriculture.
We believe different. We believe that politics does matter. We believe that politics drives all these other issues, including the economy, including Mugoka, including everything that we talk about. So we cannot ignore politics. But granted, let's talk about the economy. And the finance bill of 2024 is coming up. The presentation of the budget estimates will come up mid-June. We've seen a lot of movement, especially in the past week, with the slashing of budgets for various departments, including now a proposal by Treasury to slash budgets for the presidency, and that's both the president and his deputy. With the politics, because we cannot divorce the politics from this, with the politics that's happening, especially within the UDA party, the president's position in pushing for this finance bill is under threat. And like in 2023, where legislators were united in pushing through the finance bill of 2023, this time around, we are seeing divisions. That's why I'm saying politics does matter, whether we like it or not. We're seeing divisions. Are we looking forward to a more robust, more constructive debate from legislators when it comes to the provisions of this finance bill of 2024 as compared to what happened last year, Senator, given the dynamics we are seeing?
Okay, Fred, first of all, let me just say that probably Honorable Mushomba will talk a lot more because this is in their house, in the National Assembly. But I will still give my snippets of thoughts here and there. First of all, I want to agree with you that the debate this time on the finance bill is going to be very robust. I wanted to agree with you because when legislators are raising questions on various issues, and when there is push and pull within the members of parliament, ultimately what's going to happen is deals are going to be cut, and the person who's going to win is the voter, the citizen. So it's not going to be an easy ride, because when people are competing, and then everyone now realizes, look, the time is running out. If we don't agree to this or what, then let me cut on my hardline position, and let me accommodate the other one here and there. And then if it is this money maybe for what I wanted, and this one wanted more for agriculture, this one, then what is going to happen? There'll be some deals that will have to be cut and have to be agreed for the finance bill to pass. And I think this is a very, very good development for our nation. It may not be, you know, what, if I was sitting as a president, it's not what I want. You know, if I'm the president and I'm seeing so much, because as a president, ultimately what the Minister for Finance is putting, it is my budget, it is my proposal in one way or the other. But so if in an ideal situation, our president would want to see what has been put there to just go unopposed. But now when people are raising questions about this, that, then you sit there holding your heart, believing that maybe some of the most crucial things that you wanted will pass. But you see, when that is happening, the mwananchi is the ultimate winner, when there's that push and pull. So I think I really want to agree with you that there will be very, very robust discussions around here. And I think you saw what the accountants and all those people, when they are making their appearance, they are making very serious suggestions. And I hope some of them will be carried, and we'll have a good budget ultimately.
Okay, Honorable Mushomba, last year you were probably the only member of UDA party who did not vote the same way as the rest of the team. And the president had said that he will be keen to see who shoots down provisions of the Finance Bill 2023. This time around, do you think that there's more within your company from the Kenya Kwanza side to actually tilt the numbers?
First of all, I want to correct you. I was not the only one, but I was the only one who was vocal. But I think we were three of us who said no to the last Finance Bill 2023, and with reasons, with very, very, very valid reasons. I expect this year to be a little bit more robust, like Mheshimiwa Senator has said, because the impact of the oppressive and punitive finance bill that we passed last year are really pushing even the lawmakers to make a bow-turn. Not about the political parties, but to the interest of the people who voted for them. Because the pressure is coming from the villages, from the voters. It is not just political pressure, but economic pressure.
But there is political pressure as well.
Definitely, yes.
There are those who are using this as blackmail against the president, and saying if you continue treating your deputy in a certain way, we may shoot down the finance bill. We've seen those as part of the headlines.
I think, Fred, in the next life, you're going to be a serious politician.
No, I'm just referring to headlines.
You're diverting us from the real issues to politics. And,
it is the numbers that will matter from wherever they're coming from.
I told you I looked forward to coming to execute the finance bill and the issues around the finance bill.
The numbers will matter.
And the issues around the budget allocations for this year. You know, when serious lawmakers realize there is a gap that is actually affecting the manner in which they execute their mandate, they have a reason to say yes or no. For me, I said no, because I realized there was a very serious error of commission that slept with the bill. And I became very vocal, and I said, I gave my reasons, not just verbally, but I even communicated in writing. I come from an agricultural community, and I represent communities that are heavily engaged in the business of agribusiness. So when I look at the budget allocation for this year, and I see that we have slashed over 1 billion shillings from the agricultural sector, I have a reason to ask questions. Why have we cut the agricultural budgets? And why are we adding more budgets on other areas that, to me, do not really look like a priority? So I expect this year more questions coming from my colleagues who have gone through the cycle after we passed the finance bill last year, and have been able now to interpret and feel the impact of what they did last year. So there are so many other areas that have come up right now that are adversely going to affect the business community: agriculture, health, education, which to me are our key national interest areas. I want, first of all, to ask you to allow me to execute something from this constitution, which is our mother law. With all due respect, I have heard my president say that he is pushing us through our throats to get money from us because he has to pay debts, foreign and public debts. And I chair the committee that oversight the National Assembly of Kenya in the implementation of this constitution. I am honored to be one of those that participated in making of this constitution in the year 2005 all the way to the year 2010. I remember my brother was with me. I think we are becoming very old now. So this constitution says the president should not slash our budgets on national interest areas in the disguise or with the excuse of paying national foreign debts. Article 202 and Article 203, the baseline is Article 202 of the Katiba, affirmed by Article 203. The following criteria shall be taken into account in determining the equitable shares provided for under 202 and in the national legislation concerning how we share our revenues. Criteria number 1, the national interest areas. 2, any provision that may be made in respect to public debt and other national obligations. So before the president and the executive allocates money to foreign debts, we should satisfy our national interest areas, which are agriculture, because of food security, health, because of right to health enshrined here, 3, education, because of the wellness and the future of this generation, and 4, I've said health, education. Education, health, security, and agriculture. So when I read the new proposed budget allocation for 2024 and realize that we've slashed money from the same areas except security, education, water and sanitation, social protection, and agriculture, and health, then I stand to wonder, are we not contravening this constitution? So the president should shelve the paying of debts, however painful and retrogressive it may look, for him to align with this constitution and adequately allocate money for our JSS. You know the teachers
how feasible is your proposal for him to shelve the repayment of debt?
He may not shelve 100%, but he can shelve a certain quota so that he can be able to allocate enough resources to those national interest areas I've talked about. It doesn't make any sense for you to run to pay debts, yet you have not given the Ministry of Defense adequate allocations. It doesn't make sense for you to run to pay debts, yet you are on the other side going back to the same donors or debtors to ask them to fund your Linda Mama. How does it make any sense for you to pay debts and then you tell the same people, please support us with vaccine, please support us with Linda Mama because we cannot be able to run it? It doesn't make sense. So we allocate adequately to our national interest areas. To me, before we run to pay debts, I may sound like I am a politician here, but we must first of all take care of our health. We must make sure that our teachers, including the JSS teachers who are striking, are allocated for enough money, enough capitation. Right now, we are running behind the schedule. We are supposed to have allocated sufficient money for capitation up to date without any backlogs. We are supposed to allocate quite sufficient money for our internal security and external security. Right now, my dear, I'm sure you know, there are so many police stations in this country where we have staffed policemen, but we don't equip them even with the vehicles to do their work. Is that not true? There are so many areas, including your own areas, where police don't even have stationery to write OBs. Zile vitabu za kuandika OBs. They are not there. So why are we running to pay Muzungu, yet we cannot be able to allocate sufficiently for our national interest areas? So I think this year, we have very, very weighty questions to lay on the floor of the House before we pass finance bill.
And this has been a very big discussion about the influence that the executive has on the Houses of Parliament. especially on this the issue, and I mentioned the president's assertion last time before that I will be watching. And I know what will happen right now is that just before the budget estimates are presented, there will be a PG of the ruling party which has the numbers. And one may wonder, what we saw last year, what has really changed? It is very easy for the president to rally all Kenya Kwanza members in one direction. Has that changed?
Can I have a go first on that one, please? Let me tell you, Fred, you can be elected into that house alone as a member of parliament or as a senator, and everybody respects you, you have good standing and so on. But number one, if you are alone, the likelihood is that you can't be in any committee unless you decide to align yourself to one side or the other. Number two, you cannot pass bills alone. You cannot pass a motion alone, no matter how reasonable.
Even opposing a motion alone.
Even a motion alone, no matter how reasonable, how great your thinking is, and everyone would even sit down and say, Fred, yenyewe hapo umesema, lakini unajua tutayangusha tu. You know, that's how it goes. So that's why there's a difference between an activist and a politician. A politician gets things done. It is never perfect. Activists, once even the constitution we are quoting changed to say that everybody must wear a suit, everyone must get a house. Today, not tomorrow. Everyone must be in a beautiful hospital level 5. Today, not tomorrow. Everyone must have a job. But a politician will tell you, we are going to try and do it in the next 5 years. And we are going to focus on roads, and not hospitals, but roads. And because when he is in office, he realizes the guy he was hitting, who was in office before him, was actually wearing the shoe, and he knew that he couldn't do all those things at the same time. So, what am I saying? I'm saying there will be a PG, okay? And everybody will come and say what they want to say. But at the end, there will be proposals that will be placed on the table. So if you are able to rally enough people, for example, let me give you an example, like the guys from the sugar belt, you know, they have been very good at rallying their numbers and also lobbying, you know. Because also in rallying your numbers, Fred, you don't want to let's say, Mheshimiwa Gathoni is very strong on this measure, on taxi. She won't budge on that. So even as you are rallying your numbers, you don't want to offend this person. So you go quietly and say, you know, Mwesh, you know, me, I have nothing against this. But nakuomba usimame na mimi on this one. You know, so if you have reasonable numbers, and you've lobbied, what happens is people have to change. The proposals which are on the table must review so that they can accommodate. But the biggest, I think, the biggest strength that the government has is that they come there with proposals backed by what Treasury thinks. And you see, because we don't know all the facts in the Treasury, people tend to say, if it is CS Juguna saying that, or maybe the governor of the central bank has said we are running short on this, we need to do something about the monetary policy and whatever, you tend to go back again and think, if I'm not careful, the government might fall. So let me vote in a certain way that, despite the fact that I may not truly agree with it, I play ball. So there are so many factors which are there. Now, what Mheshimiwa Kuria's bill that was tabled in May, I think 4th of May in Parliament, is proposing, he is proposing that there will be income tax changes. He is proposing that there will be VAT changes. He is proposing there will be changes on the duty, on the excise duty taxes. and Tax Proceedings Act, and also levies. So those ones, it looks theoretical from that level, but then various groups, let's say if you are in the business of selling fuel, you will be affected by certain levies or certain taxes. So you send your people to study what are these proposals saying about my industry. And then you come and make your presentation before them. If you see these guys are not playing ball and you might stand to lose a lot, then you start lobbying individual members. How does it affect our sugar industry? Then you study it and say, no, we will send a lobby to have a sitting with these people. And if you see they are not doing, then you start lobbying directly with members of parliament to create numbers. It's not an easy process, but the government always has the upper hand. Why? Because number one, they have the numbers. Number one, they have information from Treasury. And then you have people who, because unlike maybe Mheshimiwa wa Mushomba here, people don't read a lot about this. People actually wait to be told, you know, because anything to do with math, Fred, a lot of people ran away from math. Some of them came to study law, and then they found math at law school. I thought when we started, we said the scrutiny this time around will be better.
It will be very heavy.
But I'm telling you, people, when they see acts, money things, figures, I don't want billions, what billions, people, they want to hear, Mushomba seems to know. So, Mushomba, what do you think? What do you think?
Honorable Mushomba, the issue is that there are so many members from Mount Kenya region who expressed displeasure after the fact. After they had already voted in the finance bill, it became law, and then later said, there are some things that we need to change. And the promise was that they were going to change.
Yes.
Are we looking forward to some of this? Has the debate up till now been that robust? Because we're seeing movement in the numbers. So they're reallocating funds where they're not. They're slashing where they're located more. But towards the end, are we seeing that movement?
I'm getting a little bit positive this time round. That the rigidity we experienced last year, when the president went to Narok and said, I'm waiting for that one person who's not going to pass the finance bill. And that threat was repeatedly done in my region, in Central Region. There is a lot of murmuring that happened thereafter, after the finance bill was passed. And the public itself, or the public themselves, came out when finally, when the Tax Procedures Act adjustments were done. You know, we reviewed the Tax Procedures Act to empower KRA to implement the collection of levies from farmers. You remember the avocado issue? Yes. When the farmers realized, oh, you mean what Mushomba and the core were complaining about the finance bill is now happening? That's when members of parliament arose and said, oh, we had not even understood that the impact of amending the act within the finance bill would actually affect our farmers. So that murmuring has been there, not only in the farming industry, but even in the business community, even with the manufacturing sector. And so I have had a discussion with Kimani Kuria, who is the chairman of the finance committee, and he has actually told me, this time round, we want to pay more attention to submissions, to public participation, so that we don't find ourselves to where we were. I remember when the farmers in Murang'a complained about the 5% deductions on their avocado sales at the farm gate through e-teams. Kimani Kuria came out publicly and said, finance bill did not increase any tax. And he was right. Finance bill did not increase the tax. The tax has been proposed earlier on. Finance bill enacted the collection. Affirmed the collection through amending the Tax Procedures Act adjustments. So I am hoping and looking forward. I have personally raised a 2-pager of areas I feel, if implemented as proposed, will adversely affect the business community, adversely affect the farmers, and the producing community, that is the manufacturing. I am hoping that I'm not alone. We are many. I am hoping that through public participation, the Committee of Finance will listen to our submissions and amend. We are not saying scrap it all. We are saying amend here, improve here, reduce here so that we can all feel comfortable. It is our obligation to pay tax, and we must pay tax. But we must be careful not to overtax to the point of extinction. You know, I come from a community where we milk a lot, and the philosophy of milking and continuously milking profitably is you milk and you provide that cow with sufficient minerals. If you do not provide a cow sufficient calcium and potassium, tomorrow when you milk that cow, it falls down because of lack of calcium. It's called milk fever. And once that cow falls down, it becomes very difficult for you to arise it again. So the principle of taxation aligns itself with what we call the philosophy of the Laffer curve. The Laffer curve, for those who have done economics like myself, dictates that you can only tax a community to a certain extent, upon which you, after that, the revenues and what you're collecting start dwindling, start going down. So the Laffer curve has its own elasticity. I am thinking where we are right now, based on our previous finance bill, Fred, we are almost getting at the last limit.
We're not there yet.
We are not there yet. We are almost getting there. And once we get there, KRA will report negative figures. Business communities will shut down. Farmers will go back home, and we will start retrogressing as an economy. So I am just raising an alarm as somebody who understands finance bill, and I have a copy here. What has been proposed here as eco-tax, Fred, it will affect even TV47 adversely, because this laptop, on top of other import duties, excise duties, there is a new tax that has been installed or proposed using this finance bill. That eco-tax is going to apply to almost every item that is non-biodegradable. For example, this cup, this laptop, my phone, your headphone, your camera, your TV screens, I mean everything, plastics. So if we allow that eco-tax to be applied on top of the manufacturing industry, we might lose a lot of manufacturers because they can't keep up. What has been proposed on, for example, the tax on edible oil, cooking oil, the tax that has been proposed for importing crude edible oil into Kenya, and the tax therein when it comes to refinery of that oil, and the tax therein when it comes to packaging of that oil, to sell that oil into the local supermarket. If you do your maths, which I would want you to try, and our listeners and our followers are following, edible oil proposal importation duty is 25%. Excise duty is 35%. When you get that oil here in Kenya, you need to refine and put it in bottles. That is value adding. So there's 16% of that value adding. The plastic container that you're going to pack the oil in has been proposed to be exerted another duty called eco-tax. I mean, so do your maths.
It's already 76%.
It's about 76%. Yeah. I mean, how do you survive? And there are other levies therein that I've not talked about, because, for example, if you're a manufacturer and you're refining oil, you have to comply with NEMA. And so you have to pay some other cost to NEMA for you to be able to survive, plus other bureaucracies of running businesses in Kenya. So if we go that direction, for example, the government may collect money, but what will happen to the manufacturing industry? What will happen to me and you, who relies on edible cooking oil every day? Our livelihoods will be more expensive to run. Our cost of living will go higher. So those are some of the things that we need to flag out, not politically through funerals and church meetings, but like what he said, like a lawmaker. Propose amendments, defend those amendments, lobby your colleagues in parliament so that they can understand. Because I don't blame members of parliament. Like he said, parliament is a very serious institution, and you need to shelve a lot of time to read. A lot of time.
But you do admit that your colleagues have admittedly said they don't do that kind of reading.
As the chair of a committee that oversights implementation of the Constitution, I've actually flagged and said we need to go back to our standing orders and review how members of parliament are executing their work. Because the standing orders have created various areas of conflict that make an MP look lost. For example, When you tell me that I have to attend a committee every week, and every time I attend that committee, I'm executing work that, to me, because I'm a teacher, that requires you to prepare like 30 lesson plans. And you want me to sit on one sitting and execute all that work within one sitting of 45 minutes. How? Okay. So our standing order has put so much to members of parliament's table and overwhelmingly expect them to produce, and that makes most of the members of parliament feel overwhelmed. He's been a member of parliament, he will tell you. Our pigeonholes are full of documentation and notes and correspondence, and even if you have support staff like the researchers and PAs who help us to execute, the amount, I'm talking like that as a former scholar, because I'm a scholar, I'm pursuing my PhD. I will speak here, I'm speaking like a teacher because I've prepared lessons, I have marked exams, and I can tell you the workload. I'm not trying to say it is not sufficient, it is not, it is too much. I'm saying the workload is actually something that we need to review and see whether we give members of parliament ample time for them to be able to prepare, to execute the task ahead.
You've had ample time yourself to think about this.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
It's the same time that your colleagues...
no, but we don't come from the same capacity. We don't come from the same background. He's a lawyer, I'm not a lawyer. So he may be able to execute matters law better than me. Okay. There are people who basically came from the pulpit as preachers, and now they're politicians. All they know is the Bible. And then you want them to interpret this constitution. Okay. I mean, don't overjudge members of parliament. By the way, members of parliament are not professionals. Members of parliament are politicians.
Okay. So it will come down to politics.
Exactly.
And the numbers will matter. There's a lot that you can talk about in this, and especially when she mentioned some of the deductions in key sectors. 12.6% deduction in the agriculture sector. 10.6% deduction in the health sector. As a matter of fact, ARVs have not been allocated any budget in the...
And Linda Mama.
Yes, and Linda Mama. And Edu Afia was scrapped off. At a time when they're calling upon, and I'm sure among the tax measures they will include the new 2.75% towards SHIF. There's a lot to be discussed, and if at all we are saying that members of the National Assembly are or could be overwhelmed, then how again are we saying that this time around the debate will be robust enough to change anything?
You see, from where I see it, even this discussion, Fred, and I want to thank you and your colleagues in the Fourth Estate, because really you are the people who are making this debate happen. Because in the past, people never used to come to discuss matters finance on television. We used to just come and talk about this and the other political issues. Finance was really like the reserve of the Minister for Finance, who, walks with that bag and sits there, and then reads the budget and then says it's a people-friendly budget, it's a what. Then there is some, little discussion around it, and then it is passed. Now, it's a different ballgame. I think the other generations have arrived on the scene and they are questioning everything. And what we are doing, even as we discuss here, is to highlight some of those questions that need attention. And we may not get all of them. Remember, budget cycle starts immediately after the finance bill has been done, and then the appropriations bill is done. Once money is appropriated, the budget cycle for the next financial year starts. And the people in Treasury have been sitting on this thing the whole year. We come to start interacting with it when we start doing the budget policy paper, So what I would want to say is to encourage players in the industry that it's not just a member of parliament issue. It's not just a political issue. Let your voices be heard. I pick like those who are in the digital content area, for example. They need to look again at this, because there are provisions that are proposing the widening of the taxation base, so that the creatives are going to have to pay something. If you are disseminating information, you're also supposed to pay something. So you once you hear something and you've heard, Gatana said that, you need to get your colleagues around see a lawyer or an economist somewhere who will tell you actually the finance bill is saying this on your sector. So then write your memorandum, because this is the time that they are retreating, the finance committee is retreating to do a report. If you feel that they haven't carried your views, you write, email you don't have to meet your MP. You can email them, you can send them some correspondence. But if you are a group, people tend to respect groups more. So if you are like a group, you say we are the digital whatever content creators group, and we feel that instead of this should have happened, you put all, even you walk just there into Parliament or the Senate, people listen to that, because like the teachers, like the doctors, like the clinical officers, nobody will have listened to them if they did just walk there. Now, you don't have to demonstrate, but you can have all this information shared across the members of Parliament. There are some good things, though, that I have also picked. In the EPZ, it used to be you must file your returns promptly. If you don't, you have 2,000 to pay every day for the dates that you delayed or for the time that you failed to file. So that has been now removed, okay? So that's a good thing for the EPZ people. That is supposed to help them not to incur too much in terms of cost of production. There's something else I have also picked for the people who are in the space of training. You know, there are companies that their business is to train. There are corporates that have been set up. They come to you, they tell you, Fred, we can train your people in HR, we can train you, you can do this in-house training. Now, there was a de minimis rule that unless you're making more than 24,000, you will not be taxed if it's below. But then now, if you make, even if you make a shilling, you will be taxed. So again, the people around that space and who are listening to this discussion we're having today, please go and have a clearer look at the finance bill and see if you can fight for yourself. If they say instead of taxing everything, you can say, okay, from 24,000 to 12,000, that's reasonable. But if you tax now everything, then we are making so little. So it's something that I'm making this statement that Kenyans, all of us, need actually to interact with this bill. Don't say I've elected a member of Parliament and it is business. Don't say it's the business of Kipani Kuria, the chairman of finance. Don't say, Ruto is overtaxing us. Don't call him Zakayo, and then you sit at home. You are not helping yourself, because if you don't come out and engage, and this is where the rubber meets the stone. People don't want to do their work. They don't want to do their bit. They want their MP to do it. They want their
But is elected your MP to do that job?
Definitely.
Yeah, but there's an expectation.
True, but you have to make an input, because let me give you an example. When I'm sick and I'm not feeling well, and I go to a doctor and I tell him, doctor, you know, I've just been feeling horrible. My head is aching, my nose is aching, my ears are aching, my heart is aching, my hands and what. The doctor will look at you and say, let me just give this full placebos and he will go away, because he'll feel good for the time being and he'll be good. But if I come and tell you, look, I've had a sore throat for about 3 days, please now I need an antibiotic. You know, I've given you an input. So you don't treat me like the other bagger who came and told you I'm aching everywhere. You start telling me, I suggest that you use this type
instead of the other one.
Athromycin instead of using the
Honorable Moshomba, final words.
I am banning because Mheshimiwa has talked about EPZ and says that there is an exemption for those who have invested in EPZ in terms of how they'll be filing their tax returns. Noting that not every business community is in EPZ, this finance bill proposal is very punitive to the business community. Because other than just being in the EPZ, if you miss your e-team updates, electronic tax returns per transaction, this proposal asks KRA to penalize you 2 million per missed transaction. It's
even if your transaction is 1,000.
Even if your transaction was one shilling, which you did not transact using the electronic tax platform.
Yes.
The proposal here is 2 million here. I have it here, Mheshimiwa.
And the doctors would be hit with that. That's the front page of the business daily.
Exactly.
Hit patients with cash bills.
So when you go to a private doctor
and he fails to
file his electronic returns and maybe write to you those normal physical receipts, and he picks your money and does not register in the electronic platform, the fine, the penalty per transaction is 2 million. This is too punitive. All right? This finance bill to me is actually very, very punitive. It is even worse than last year's because I've read it page by page. I wish I had time. I would highlight areas that I feel they are very, very punitive. But allow me to concentrate on the areas where my voters really are concerned. Papers that come from outside the country, or we import papers for our value addition processes like packing our tea, packing our sugar, packing our coffee. The paper bond, the craft liner paper, the virgin paper, those are the papers that we normally use to add value to our products, have been slammed with excessive taxation that will now dictate that all value adders, anybody in the value addition of tea, coffee, and sugar, especially sugars that we normally use for at the table level, will close down. Because that craft paper,
it won't be sustainable.
Bond paper, craft liners, virgin paper have been slammed with importation duty of 25%, excise duty of 35%, export promotion levy of 2.5%, eco levy per piece. The whole taxation regime is going to 80%. So what is happening? In my constituency, we have Kagwa Tea Factory and Kaba Tea Factory. I have farmers. When we process our tea to KTDA, there is that low-grade tea that we normally sell to packers. That is a tea that you see local companies at Rimuru or wherever, they pack their local value addition tea, which you can buy from the supermarket or from the dukas. Now, when we impose such duties, what happens? All those packers will die, natural death, economically. What will happen to those vehicles, the pro boxes and the piki-pikis that roam around looking for that grade 2 tea? They will be jobless. As we speak right now, my brother, we have over 80 million kilos of tea stranded in Mombasa warehouse. 80 million kilos. And that tea is a tea that, if it is not sold through the auction, was normally bought by the tea packers. They would pack that tea, export it to Dubai, export it to Sri Lanka or wherever. So that tea is stranded there. Why? Because we fixed the price and then we interfered with the value addition process. That is last year finance bill. When the crisis happened, I remember I went on social media and complained very heavily. The president called all the tea packers in State House last year and told them, no, I've heard you. I think there was a mess. We are going to correct it. We are going to amend to make sure that we remove the excess duty on those papers. And the tea packers were celebrating, but that did not happen.
It did not happen. It's going to
get worse. To date, it didn't happen. Last week, I saw the president with the same people. The same people are telling the president, Mr. President, you promised us last year. Yes. Nothing happened. You have now proposed again. In fact, you have even added another on top of what we were complaining last year. You have added another duty called eco tax. Now we are going to be extincted from this business. Wow. And the president promised them, we are going to review. Now, this is just one sector of manufacturing I'm talking about. There are so many other sectors that have been negatively impacted by this proposal. So this is not the time to chest thump. I told you, according to Lavacaf, we are almost at the elasticity extreme point. Once we exceed that extreme point of taxation, we start going down. Okay. And when we go down, we will all regret why we had to take that path.
Wow. Honorable Gathoni wa Mushomba, MP Githunguri, and Senator Danson Mungatana, Senator Tana River County, discussing the Finance Bill 2024 and what we should be looking out for. If you can, please go out and read that Finance Bill yourself. And if at all you have access to your Member of Parliament, member of the National Assembly, because the budget estimates will be before them the mid of June, please make your submissions to them and your ideas known, if at all they can help. Thank you so much for your time here at TV47 and for sharing your very well-considered opinions on this matter.
Can I send a message of condolences?
Yes,
in 1 minute?
Briefly.
I condole with the people of Thika because about a week ago, they lost a young man who was shot dead through a political process that was happening in Thika. And I want to assure the people of Thika that some of us who are leaders from that county have taken up that matter very seriously. And we are pressing the DCI to make sure that those who shot that young man, the 26-year-old Boda Boda guy from Thika called Duati, are brought to book. Okay. Because it is not normal, it is not okay for us to have somebody shot dead and nobody has ever been arrested since then. Okay. That is not normal and it cannot be business as usual.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, quick to our editorial comment this morning. In the past few days, the nation has been engaged in a heated debate over the legality of banning Moka in coastal counties, including Taita Taveta, Kilifi, and Mombasa. Now, this issue has even drawn the attention of the president, who has called for a consultative forum with leaders from the affected regions. Meanwhile, Moka farmers in Embu have taken legal action to challenge the ban's legality. Mombasa Governor Abdul Swamad Nasir and Kilifi Governor Gideon Mungaro, who implemented the ban, cited health concerns, especially the impact on minors who have suffered serious health complications from consuming this substance. While these health concerns are valid, there appears to be a misunderstanding of the legal provisions surrounding Moka. Moka, a variety of miraa, is classified as a scheduled crop under the Crops Act of 2013 and is regulated by the miraa regulations of 2023. The act, passed by the National Assembly and the Senate, permits the growing, movement, sale and consumption of miraa. Thus, farmers in Embu and others involved in the trade are within their legal rights. Now, don't get us wrong. We do acknowledge the concerns of the Mombasa Kilifi governors, who we, however, call for sobriety in this debate. For a start, we urge strict adherence to regulations concerning the sale of substances, especially to minors. It is also an opportune time to evaluate laws governing transportation, sale, and use of certain substances to conform with our societal ideals. If existing laws are deemed problematic, the appropriate course of action is to amend them through the Parliament. As the maxim goes, the law is made for